Hello fellow critics, welcome back to the alley, the spooky place where black cats materialize from out of the shadows. Feel free to take one.
Lock up your children! Yes, Salem, we're back!
Yes, after many years, we are finally given the sequel to one of the most influential witch flicks of an entire generation. The original premiered in '93, and the sequel just launched 29 years later. And let me tell you, these ladies look supernatural. One of the concerns with time lapses is whether or not you can bring back the actor or actress to be a convincing version of that same character. I dare say these temptresses of darkness may be even more enchanting than ever. Take note, ladies, the blood of children does wonders for your skin. Get yours now from our website for the low price of $19.99. Use checkout code. This is a joke and I'm surprised that you found a website that doesn't exist. If you haven't seen it yet, go watch it. Seriously. It's delightful. Oh, and there are slight spoilers ahead. I'm kind of running on the assumption that everyone's already seen this thing. It's pretty big. If you haven't seen it yet, go watch it and then come on back. I'll be waiting right here. Welcome back. But if you know me, then you know I'm not here to give free promotion or a star rating. I'm going digging. First off, what is this? What is that? What in the Majora's Mask is that apocalyptic nonsense? Can you imagine what is happening to the tides? Good thing I brought my ocarina before the moon crashes into us. Watching this classic tale reignited, I had a few thoughts and, of course, theories. I was very suspicious of that cat from the first second you see him. It almost seemed like just a fun cat callback to Binks, you know, Mr. Magic Kitty himself. But I knew better. I knew they were going to be working really hard not to let the cat out of the bag. Although they did pussyfoot around when they mentioned the cat transformation spell. The post-credit scene should have been enough of a sign if you didn't catch it already. It was fun to see them interacting with a modern environment. The costume contest was hilarious to me, and they should have held it at a Hot Topic or a Spirit Halloween store. The scene with the Roombas? Simply uplifting.
Winnie, looky, my broomies, they hate mess.
The way they handled that problem was inspired. I was literally swept up in the magic of it. Add this to the horror story of Roomba reviews on Amazon. Terrible product, almost doomed humanity, keeps chasing my cat, 0 stars. There are a couple main reasons I enjoyed the movie. The main character has a clear arc that not only shows her growth through victory, but through humility as well. We start the main part of the movie with the protagonist Becca being at odds with her close friend and coven mate Cassie. The two of them hadn't spoken in a long time. Both being young and stubborn, it's likely that without the impending doom, these two would have connected eventually, but probably not so quick. The bonds of love that they build, though, are stronger than the changes of life and the fear that that brings with it. A lesson that more people could stand to learn. They were able to come together, accept their wrongdoings, and then move forward stronger than ever. Because the Coven stays strong under pressure. Which leads me to the other big reason that I enjoyed this movie. There is a good and a bad Coven. It actually shows duality, which is honestly overlooked often. Most of the time pop culture shows witches, they tell us that they're wart-nosed, broom-gripping, eye-of-newt hoarding, baby-eating monsters. Not all witches eat babies. Hashtag not all witches. So it is refreshing to not only see good witches, but examples of positive sympathetic magic. We see Becca and Izzy holding a birthday ritual, which is something that dates way back to the Egyptians. As rituals, birthday celebrations were pagan in origin, and many early Christians did not celebrate their birthdays. Pagans believed that we were more susceptible to magic, both good and bad, on our birthday because we were closer to the spirit realm. All of our personal spirits would be more likely to visit us on that day, thus strengthening our connections. This is why people offer blessings on birthdays, and you should probably start taking those wishes just a little more seriously. The candles on our cake connect with stories of Artemis, the moon goddess, and noisemakers were brought about to chase away the evil spirits. You do them just like this. Every time that I learn more about the diverse traditions that we have pieced together to make this rich tapestry we have, I gain that much more respect for our ancestral traditions. I think these differences are what make this world a beautiful and interesting place. How boring would it be if we were all made out of the same bat-shaped cookie cutter? It sure would be a shame if someone were to go around erasing and rewriting history. Can you imagine the wisdom and knowledge that would be lost? Glad there are no real-world examples of such tragedy. There are a handful of fun musical bits and a lot of witch and era-hopping jokes. Of course, this.
Winnie, the gates, they parted for her. Oh, she must be very powerful.
Noticing how annoying synthetic light can be?
Observe, sisters, it glows from within with a sickening light.
Yeah, that's fluorescence for you.
They basically end up looking like drunks in the cosmetic aisle.
Look, 'tis the face of a child. A newborn! Oh, sister, what does it taste like? Raspberry.
But within all that bibbidi-bobbidi-boo, something pretty big stood out to me. How does one newly empowered witch stand up against...
The most powerful coven in history.
She's basically a baby witch. This is something that they even asked directly in the movie, but we get no clarity on. It is one of the biggest unsolved mysteries of this entire film, until now. As I'm sure you know by now, I've done some big brain thinking and come up with a theory that I'm very confident in. So grab some salt and...
Angelica leaves. You burn them to lift curses.
Cause...
Hey, if candles can bring back the dead, why can't potpourri bring back the stairs?
it's about to get spooky. That's how we like it here after all, with an extra scoop of spooky. So hit subscribe.
Because I said so.
And I'll see you next time. To find the answers, we often have to start at the beginning, so flip back to page 1 of your grimoire. This movie gives us a fair amount of backstory on our wily witches. In this comically aware little village, we find out that our fiery redhead has always had a bit of an anger issue. Okay, a lot of an anger issue. But how much can we blame her? This backwater misogynistic nightmare is way more accurate than it ever had a right to be, and that is the scariest thing in this whole movie full of dark magic and evil witches, is how accurate that really is. Men have pretty much always been the worst and often acknowledge it.
He is quite odd. But how dare thou say it so?
She would have every right to...
He relishes in her petulance.
Correct. Goodbye.
and stand up for herself. But it should have stopped there. She acknowledges her temper, but refuses to see it as a problem until she is directly suffering from the consequences of it. And that is where she goes wrong. Me and her do have one thing in common though, aside from our fierce loyalty to our family.
She's adorable.
I also think spiders are adorable, with their cute little eyes and their fuzzy little butts and their... The townspeople probably low-key thought that that guy burned down his own house because just a few minutes ago he was having a panic attack over that spider, and then mysterious arsonist hits his house with no suspect in sight except for... If you found this in your house, how many of you would do this? After our trick-or-treat trio escapes into the woods and joins hands in a witch's circle. Or, you know, to play Ring Around the Rosie. Whichever is the first one that came to mind when you saw that. Anyway, they're giggling to themselves when a voice comes mysteriously from the woods and enchants them. A sweet siren song. Then we are immediately mystified by the appearance of somebody who is known as the Mother Witch, who polymorphs from a raven, swoops in, and grips up Sarah in one hand, in one fell swoop even. She looks witchin' and is clearly a power top that frequently gets requested to step on people. Crush my heels, you voluptuous shadow of the night. So Big Mommy Raven Witch decides to spare the three when she realizes that they are little witchlets, and decides to mentor them even in the only way that she knows how without eating them. By handing them a magical tome that is basically the equivalent of a weapon of mass destruction, and then setting them loose in a sleeping town that had literally just wronged them hours ago to let them exact their heavily hormone-influenced revenge. Bad Moon Mommy, Parent of the Year. Time skip past the first movie to present-day Salem, where we meet our new triple threat, Becca, Cassie, and Izzy. They are a young coven who practice white magic, which, if you didn't know, is a blanket term for good spells like healing, protection, or bountiful harvest. The polar opposite of black magic, with hexes and curses and other reductive magics. There are other forms as well, but this isn't a class about defense against the dark arts. Point is, not all magic is bad, it's basically an extension of the will of the user. Don't let Mother Goose pull the wool blanket over your eyes. My point is proven when we find out that these children are not exiled and forced to live in the woods because they won't conform to society norms. They don't even have to get married off like property anymore. How cool is that? Personal autonomy for the win. No, everyone is aware of what they do, and I cannot express how much that affects the characters and the world that they live in. They get the candles, some of the witches, Gilbert the Grey, Billy Butcherson, and you know the plot because you've seen the movie. I have more to say about Gilbert the Grey and Mayor Trask because something is suspicious about them, but it's not their video. The question that I asked earlier is how could Becca defeat the Sanderson sisters, even with her coven? Because Becca is a direct descendant of the Mother Witch. Either a daughter or a granddaughter. Big Hexy Mama is eternal, remember? Let's talk evidence. Looking at the two side by side, they have a few interesting similarities. They have similar hair parts, they both have attached earlobes, even though you can kind of barely see their ears. They have similar jawlines as well. Aside from that, we also know that Book was originally owned by the Mother Witch before she gifted it to Winifred Sanderson, who it served very faithfully for a very long time. Even as far as to awaken, every time it's called, no matter how long it's been. The 1600s to 1900s is a pretty long time. So why would Book turn on Winifred and choose Becca as its new owner? The movie even specifically says,
Becca, Book chose you.
We're with you.
Need more? We literally see Mother Witch in her raven form flying over right after we meet Becca. And then, you know, at the end, when they're all doing the sorceress shuffle, offset, and we see her come flying in again.
Guys, what do we do? I don't know. What? Wait, that's from the Walgreens. That's that walk from the Walgreens. Oh my God, yes.
Interesting, right? Odd choice for the writers to have them following a specific person when this entity is known to eat children. As if they were kind of showing you what I'm saying. She's been watching over and protecting her bloodline all this time. Maybe she really is Mother of the Year. It also kind of helps that we don't meet Becca's parents at all. I don't even think they're mentioned. Aside from solving the parentage of Becca, the moral of our story here is acceptance. Look at how vastly our two high priestesses from each coven respond to the world around them. Think about how it affects their life decisions. The anger and hatred that raised Winifred manifested, just like the love and acceptance that raised Becca did the same for her. The Sanderson sisters were most likely victims of the era they lived in. Most witches are just misunderstood. Even the Hex Girls from Scooby-Doo are a great example of good witches. We may not all be witches and covens, but our words are the magic spells that we cast to shape our lives, ourselves, and the world around us. Choose wisely, and if it hurt none, do what thou will. Critically yours, The Fox.